Say money, money for stuff. Okay, let's play that CIA chart again. When we talk about America and talk about money, we're actually talking about debt. Because in America, there's no money per se. It's only debt. It's only credit. The central bank system is effectively bankrupt. They have no actual money. The actual foreign reserves of America are less than the net worth of Bill Gates or Warren Buffett. That's the entire country's reserve, forex reserves. There's no money in America. It's purely an accounting scam, like Bernie Madoff, except writ large over 300 million people. That's the American economy. That's Social Security. Look at the CIA chart. And you can't see it in L.A., Alec Baldwin. But the CIA chart has got America on every other country in the world. Number one is China with huge reserves, trillions of dollars of reserves. Number two is Germany. A fellow from Zurich from Der Spiegel is here. He doesn't look very worried. They've got a huge surplus of cash. They've got 3,000 tons of gold in the Bundesbank. You know, they're sitting pretty in this economy. All the way down the list is the U.S. Down there with, who else is the U.S. keeping company with, Sweet Pea? The U.S. is keeping company with, who else is down there?
Spain, United Kingdom, Australia, Italy, Greece, Turkey, France.
You know, these are the countries that America, so they don't really have the money, Alec. I mean, they're just going to print up more money, which is going to create a second stage of the crisis, which is hyperinflation. But anyway, let's, I want to ask you about something else, if that's okay, in Los Angeles. What do we want to ask Mr. Baldwin on Los Angeles? You know, he's there. He's got his fingers on the...
Well, listen, let me just say one more thing, and that is, you know, Americans, sometimes they face the cold fact, and that is that America is a place, and I think Americans get honest about this periodically, America is a place where people work very hard. They get up every day, they get in these cars, they drive in these choked arteries and roads. They go to their jobs, they work hard, some of them work in 2 jobs, some of them 2-income homes with children, the mother and the father work. They work to produce this gross national product. The government comes in and skims off the top and takes the taxes off. And the taxes are not as high as some other Western societies, but because the pool is so big, because the American economy is such a big hissing machine, they skim their percentage off the top and they take that money and they go and buy a lot of bombs and planes and ships and things, and they scoot around the world and they sail around the world and they intervene in the affairs of other countries and they straighten everybody out on behalf of their own economic interest. And that's what Americans, they do. They work to pay for the military that keeps America in place, and this cannot go on forever.
What's your take on Obama? Big shift, big change?
I think that Obama is someone who realizes that there's a strong, very virile media out there that's out to get him. They're going to nail him as soon as they can. They're waiting for him to take office. He's not even in office yet, and already the Rod Blagojevich conflict is spattering him in some way. They're wondering what his fingerprints are on this process, and but when Obama comes in, I think the first thing he's got to deal with is the economy. But at the same time, I have a lot of faith in Obama. He's going to bring the bulk of the U.S. troops and get them out of the dangerous spots in Iraq, if not out of Iraq completely, by the end of next year. So that's very hopeful.
You mentioned the media and the potential for the media to attack Obama. I see that Colin Powell has already taken on Rush Limbaugh, one of the biggest right-wing media voices in America. Is that a strategy you think going forward?
I'm very cynical about that, because Powell, to me, is someone who's trying to save his own legacy. Powell is someone who was, if not a puppet, I wouldn't say he was a puppet, but he was someone who made some serious mistakes of judgment in supporting this administration. He was on their team. He wasn't really one of them, but he was, you know, he was like, it's like a guy that's a free agent in baseball. He went and played for them, and he made some horrendous mistakes, and his public career is ruined. I mean, Powell is someone himself who was an African-American political figure in this country who was admired boundlessly by people until he worked for this crowd and until he endorsed this war and until he lied straight-faced to the world and the United Nations in that famous speech. And he was a lackey for them. He was a lackey for the Bush administration, and he knows it. I think he's going to tremendous lengths now to try to dig his legacy out of the mud. And those right-wing guys, they're not going to let him get away with it too easily.
How about on a future episode of 30 Rock, your character has to come to Paris? Do you think it could work that into the show somehow?
Well, I think at the very least, I think my character, who is a pretty, he's a real Fairfield, Connecticut corporate type who's interested in the Dow and money and...
Jack Donaghy.
Yes, Jack is a very conservative Republican. I think at the very least, Jack should decide that he's going to put the entire corporate future, he's going to roll the dice on all of his most significant business decisions on behalf of General Electric. He's going to employ the Oracle to help make those decisions.
I think that would be an excellent episode to get Stacey and I on the show. You were recently on a show for Saturday Night...
No, Max, be clear about something. We would have Stacey on the show for a completely different reason.
Yeah.
Okay, Jack. Whatever Jack Donaghy says, we go with Jack Donaghy. So now you were recently on a Saturday Night Live episode. You did a sketch with the vice presidential candidate Sarah Palin, and that was kind of interesting because a lot of people couldn't differentiate between you, the actor, and you, the activist, and there was like a strange mix of realities there, and I noticed that on your blog you were commenting on it. I thought that was very interesting.
Say that again. What was interesting?
Well, the fact that you were on the Saturday Night Live show and you were playing a scene with Sarah Palin,
right.
and the idea being that in the blogosphere they expected you to somehow break out of character and address Sarah Palin politically.
Well, I mean, listen, I consider myself, a liberal, a Democrat, a progressive, whatever you want to call it, and yet I've learned that there's no group of people in this country who is more tedious and more overbearing and more tiresome than liberal, democratic, progressive in this country.
Okay.
And so I have endured their criticisms. They wanted me to, it's almost like they wanted me to pull out a bag of manure and dump it on Palin with a little take.
Oh my God.
Their expectations are ridiculous. But anyway, I got to run and go to an appointment. That's why I want to do a little bit earlier. Max, as always, some things never change, Max. And your gifts, your insights, your, as we used to say years ago, your mind, the mind of Max Keiser is a great, now international treasure.
Thank you so much, Alec. Thank you.
Bon, I'll talk to you soon.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
That reminds me, Stacey, we got an interesting email from somebody who saw the...
Yeah.